Welcome to another episode of Your Home Buying Plan. We are very lucky today. We have Emma and Adam from Jellis Craig joining us to discuss all things around property. Welcome, guys, to our episode of Your Home Buying Plan. Lovely to have you guys here. Now, Adam, we go. Yeah, no worries. We go way back. A bit of a story for the viewers. We many years ago, I was messaging a whole bunch of agents to see who I can collaborate and connect with. I think I messaged something like 100 agents. And you know who got back to me? Adam. And from there, our relationship, we sort of, grew and did a few deals together. But here we are. So thank you for joining us. You guys, recently joined Jellis Craig. Tell me about, firstly, how you guys got into real estate and then now working together.
Yes, started 21 years ago in real estate. It was through my stepfather's business, Jeff Green Real Estate. We're located up at 532 Alexander Road, Ascot Vale. So back in 2005, had that opportunity, and I did start sort of in that property management space, and then sort of grew into obviously the sales, and then I took over the business in 2015. I purchased the business, and I was under another rebranded to Ray White Real Estate. And was there for 5 years. Obviously, Emma came into the business at that time. So we have been together actually for 21 years.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
At that time, so pretty much from the start. And then she obviously assisted, and then we grew the team. We managed a bit under 500 rental properties, and we had a sales team of 5 or 6 at the time. And then the opportunity came up with Jellis Craig last year in February to merge over to there. So we merged our business over there in February, and it's been a great addition and move for us.
Yeah, wonderful. And I remember back then you did a lot of work in property management, but it's so good seeing you in the sales aspect now. And even prior to today, or just then, you guys are talking about listings and property, and to see the energy that you guys bring together.
Thank you.
What's it like working together? Husband and wife. Who's the negotiator? Who's the firm one? In the professional space.
It's probably one of the most commonly asked questions, and a lot of people are very perplexed as to how we manage to, work together, run the family, and all of the different things that come with it. But I think one thing that works really well with Adam and I is that we're quite different, and I think for that reason, we work to our strengths. Adam's probably more the sort of strategic-minded, does a lot of the work with vendors around strategy and things like that. And I do a lot of the buyer work. So I'm very kind of relationship-based, really good at working with buyers and sort of helping to, I guess, negotiate the more emotive kind of result, which is where we get the better outcomes. It works really well. I think, in terms of us, who's the harder one, etc. I feel like we're both, we're softies, aren't we? Really, we are. We find it hard to get hard, but I think for us, it's all there's a science around strategy and things like that, and we really just lean into that as we need to. But we also heavily weight and respect the emotional aspect of what we do, and the impact that we can have on people through the process of selling and buying a property.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. It is a relationship industry, isn't it? It's when prospects or clients see that you guys have a real good connection, chemistry, I think they will probably just naturally gravitate towards you guys, right? So that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
So Adam, what are you seeing in the northwest at the moment? We know and we hear about it in the media and experts, the market's changing, but what does that change mean? And what are you seeing on the ground?
I think after the government changes, we did see a bit of confidence drop in, I suppose, buyer confidence in the market. Now that sort of interest rates have stayed on hold this week, we are starting to see a bit more of inquiries coming through.
Even just this week, the volume of inquiries with some of the properties that we've launched this week has definitely increased.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, so I'm starting to see, look, our office has actually had a really good clearance rate over the last sort of month. I think from what the sort of Victorian average is in that sort of low 50% range, we're sort of up around 80% on from sort of 8 from 11 auctions last week.
Yeah.
So I think that comes down to sort of, getting the pricing right, the experienced agents we have working in our office, and the buyer work that we do. So
I think too, clearance rate, there's a real alignment with strategy. So you have to be very strategic with which properties you take to auction. So I think if you're strategic in where you place a property in terms of the strategy, you're going to get a better outcome.
Yeah.
So some properties, and throughout the campaign, it may have been marked for an auction in the beginning, but you may pivot to maybe more of a private sale or expression of interest, depending on, I guess, the buyers that you're working with, the conditionality of the buyer, how prepared they are and ready to buy, all those sorts of things. But I think, our clearance rate has very much got to do with the fact that we move with the pace of the market and with, the activity that's happening in each individual campaign. And subsequently we get some really great auction results. I think, if we're sort of foreseeing a negative outcome to come as a result of the auction for whatever reason, maybe it's buyer depth or the conditionality, as I mentioned, then we won't take it to auction.
Yeah.
We'll do private negotiation, so to, not, the auction process is very transparent, to everyone. So, I think, buyer sentiment has definitely been, I think
it's starting to improve. Obviously in the last few weeks we did have that drop off. The negative gearing, in capital gains tax. I'm sure you had a lot of sort of owners on the phone and investors working out their sort of next steps in terms of their finance and where they see the market moving to. But
I think too, like with borrowing capacity, buyers have had to get their head around. Okay, so what could have meant a $2 million property in December last year. They're still in the market and they're still looking, but they can't afford to buy a $2 million property now because their borrowing capacity has changed. So they've had to get their head around, I guess, what they're looking at in terms of the money that they've got available. Probably what we're seeing a lot of at the moment is a lot of transfer of buyers across different areas because they have a set criteria of what it is that they're looking for. It might be the accommodation, 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car. Perhaps they're not able to get it in this particular pocket anymore, so they start stretching it a little bit further. A lot of buyers are sort of, looking across different suburbs and things as well, we're finding. And I think just the decision-making process, I think, buyers may be a little bit more reluctant to make impulsive decisions in the market. They're a lot more calculated.
They're doing their research.
Organised. They're doing their research.
Yeah. I think, on some of the key points there is, with the rate changes and borrowers are always the first to cop the borrowing capacity restrictions, right? Like in terms of the borrowing power changing significantly every single time there's a reduction, an increase in interest rate. Are you finding, vendors having to adjust their expectations on how much they have to sell for to reflect the market, or are you guys still getting pretty strong results given the environment that we're in at the moment?
I think there's an element of ensuring that you're market relevant. I mean, there's two elements of, I guess, a price point. There's the scientific price in terms of, comparables and what are recent sales in the area, etc. But then there's the emotional aspect as well. And some buyers, particularly owner-occupiers, buyers that are buying for their family home, it's a long-term play for them. So an extra 50 grand in the market is not huge because they're in it for the long run. But I think it depends. But I think just making sure that vendors are really up to date with the activity. We really try very hard to make sure that we are sharing all of the market insights throughout the duration of a campaign so that the vendors are well attuned to the market and the activity that's happening throughout. Because sometimes when you appraise a property, it could be 2 months out, and as we know, the market changes.
I think that's the changes we had, that sort of price that we had 3 or 4 months ago compared to the last 2 months. It sort of changed quite quickly. So, you've had to adjust that sort of price to expectations.
100%. And I think, on that note, with you guys having such a strong clearance rate, it just really shows, how well you guys are navigating the market,
Yes.
and even some of the other agents I speak to, and their clearance rates are well below 50%.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're above the average, shows that you guys are doing a pretty good job in
Thank
your
you.
space. So
Yeah.
that's
Thank
that's
you.
awesome. So we've covered a few points there around buyers and how they're feeling in the market. Let's talk more around, in your area, the demographic and the young families, because we're in the same area, right? And now, what opportunities are there right now for if you are a young family, you've outgrown the property, and you're looking to upsize? What opportunities are you seeing in that space in the west, north?
I think it's a great buying opportunity to upgrade, because those properties that may have been, that 2 million plus, have come down now probably under 2 million. So it is a very great time if you're looking to upgrade. I haven't seen a sort of better opportunity in the last few years, at least, even before COVID.
Yeah.
About sort of upgrading and sort of getting it under that sort of 2 million for 4 bedrooms and selling sort of in Ascot Vale, sort of Kensington area.
Yeah, I think too, where there's another opportunity, and I've been working very closely with the Archer in Flemington, which is predominantly the market there is downsizers. There are a lot of people downsizing in our area, which presents a great opportunity for families to I guess buy the properties that these downsizers are selling off, and really great quality builds, beautiful, expansive homes. There's a really good opportunity there with that. I think, turnkey properties tend to be the preference, where there's, limited amount of work around. But I can tell you, if you're prepared to, put the work boots on and do a bit of work, there's some really great opportunities for properties that have really great foundations, beautiful character charm that they can go in and make their own. So I think, there's opportunities on both sides, I think, in the market at the moment.
And, on that note, if I'm a young family looking to upsize and I want to list my property, what are some common mistakes that you guys are seeing with home buyers rushing in and want to list straight away? What preparations or what advice do you give, potential vendors before they list?
I think market relevance in terms of price positioning is really, really important, and making sure that you keep your finger on the pulse right up to the point where you are about to launch the property. There's kind of 3 levers that you can control in real estate when you're selling a property. The first one is, your price positioning, and I guess, how that is relevant in the current market. The second one, and a really, really important one, is presentation. So I think assuming that, mediocre presentation is going to do the job because the property is great and it's in good condition, I feel like that can be a really big mistake. The more you can maximise...
It could be, obviously, the staging, could be painting, recarpeting.
It's all those little things.
Those little touches.
Yeah. I think too, when you're selling against a lot of properties that are majority of them are staged, that's what your buyers are comparing it to. So I think, you've got your levers that you can pull. You've got your marketing, you've got your presentation, you've got your pricing. Control what you can control in order to get the best possible outcome is probably, one thing that we really, really try to focus on. So a big part of what we do prior to actually listing a property is walking through the property and having a look at, what we can actually do to improve the presentation, which in turn can have a really, really great impact on the end result.
And the last piece was the marketing.
Yeah,
that's the important piece, making sure
visibility,
visibility
high
online.
engagement.
Obviously Jellis Craig, very premium brand, so they've got different sort of marketing methods they use. But that's probably the main sort of 3 levers.
Yeah, your
there.
photography, your videos, all of those, all your high impact platforms. There's a lot of work that we do and a lot of attention put on the work that we do in that space. I mean, we've got dedicated campaign managers that manage that process specifically to make sure that we're on track.
But, it makes a huge difference, doesn't it? Sometimes it really kills me when I drive past a house and I'm like, had you just do the landscaping a little bit, just 10% more,
Yes.
you probably get more attraction or more sort of attention on your property.
Yeah.
It's like you're right. The little things, the presentation, it matters so much.
Absolutely. I think there's a direct correlation between presentation and a feeling
Yep.
as well. I know myself when I love property, but when I walk into the property and it's just been styled, I almost get goosebumps.
Yeah.
It literally, some of them hit you in the chest.
Yeah.
Like it's like, wow, it feels like home. Like this feels like an amazing home.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to be. They're the strings that we need to be pulling on the buyers' hearts when they walk in the front door, and that's what we really try to aim to achieve.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. I think a property that is well prepared, whether it is using a third party to stage it and making it nice and neat, because like you said, you got your prospects, you got your buyers coming in. You want them to feel like they're at home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, and again, it absolutely kills me when I see a house is not staged. You just walk in, there's an empty shell, and you got your
Yeah.
buyers looking around. And buyers they're very emotional, right? They need to feel and see it, and if they can't see it, they're just going to walk straight out the door.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And some people are really creative in the way that they think and they can visualize things, but a lot of buyers can't.
Yep.
So, trying to make it as easy for them to build a connection with the home is where we put a lot of focus with vendors and helping them through that process. I think it's very, very easy for a vendor, particularly if they're living in the property, to become a little bit house blind.
Yep.
In that, it's their space, they're used to it, they're used to living in it and using it in a particular way, but kind of having that, sometimes, in a property where we're selling, or the vendor's still living there, we'll have a designer go through anyway, a stylist go through and give some advice around maybe some partial styling or, with all due respect, we're just going to put that stuff away. Those sort of conversations with vendors who really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Even when we sold our house just recently, we were living in it because of our situation. We had to be in the home to sell it. And we had a stylist come in and we had it partially styled and gave us some advice around some certain things, and it was really appreciated. And they're right. That's their profession. That's what they do.
And our job is you want to get a premium outcome.
Yeah, so it needs to be presented in the most premium way possible.
Yeah, 100%. I agree, because it is, at times, it is your biggest asset.
It is.
And for a small investment, it could make a huge difference as the outcome.
Tens of thousands of dollars.
Absolutely. And you just don't, you don't want to have regrets. You don't want to get a result at the end of the day and go, could I have gotten another 50 grand if it had been presented better? The what ifs.
Yeah, we spent 25,000 just getting preparing the property. So we didn't want to have any regrets in terms of we get to auction day that we've done everything we can to prepare the property.
Yeah.
Hey,
so I guess on that, so I guess on that advice and summaries, invest in your property if you want to invest in the outcome. I think so. That's probably the best quote I can come up with. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Very, very important.
All right. So. Now, let's talk about you guys as agents, and yes, you represent the vendors of selling, and of course, you got your buyers as well. So balancing the both sides. How important is for a buyer to walk through the door to be transparent with you guys, so that way you can help them to the best of your ability? Because I get sometimes, buyers, they keep their cards real close to their chest. They don't want to disclose too much. They walk in, they walk out, see you later. You might get a text later, say, hey, can I see the section 32? So how important is it buyers really engage and interact with you guys when they're looking at a property and they've got some interest in it?
I think it's just building the trust with the buyers coming through. Obviously, Emma does a lot of work in that space, the buyer work.
Yeah, probably do. Working with the buyers is probably one of my absolute favourite things about what I do. I think for buyers, it's dropped the preconception around agents being untrustworthy.
Yeah.
Like, we're there to work with them. We want to be able to sell them the property. I think if you limit the information that you're sharing, you're not necessarily helping your ability to be able to negotiate stronger. All you're doing is kind of closing yourself off to any opportunities. I mean, the amount of times that, perhaps a property may sell prior to auction, and we reach out to buyers, and we've received an acceptable offer. To obviously get in touch if they're interested in putting in a counter offer. the amount of missed opportunities there are for buyers because they haven't made their interest clear to us. And if we don't know that they're interested, then I can't keep them updated. And that can then in turn have a very detrimental result for them because they miss out. I think another thing as well, that the buyer relationship with an agent sometimes goes well beyond that one particular property to which they've just first met. I mean, I've got buyers that I speak to on a weekly basis because I'm trying to help them find a property. So maybe they've missed out on this one. I've got one coming up off market. Shoot them a text message, what's your availability tomorrow? I've got one off market for you. I think it's really important for buyers to kind of drop the stigma around, holding cards close to the chest because there's a lot of value in having a really good relationship with your real estate agent. To help you, if not this property, another property. Yeah,
spot on. And I think I agree with that point because, for what you guys represent in the market, the value that you bring, and you're right, if you don't want to miss the opportunity. You don't want to miss, you've been looking for months or sometimes years, and you sort of identify the property, but you don't want to engage. And that fear of missing out, it can become true. And also the possibility of finding off market. Sort of things that you guys can see or have access to that buyers are not sure, unaware, because all they're doing is looking at realestate.com.
That's exactly right. Another one as well, like I'll quite often say to a buyer, like, what's your max budget for your dream home? And that question, I think sometimes they get a bit scared off to answer it because they think that I'm going to try and negotiate them up to that price on every property that I present to them. But the question is actually, what would you pay for your dream home? Not necessarily what you pay for this home or that home. It's, I think being open and honest with what it is that they really want and what they're looking for, it helps us to find them and source them the right property.
Match the buyers up with the right properties. That's what we specialise in.
I think this month, we've done 3 off-market sales. And that's just, an opportunity will present itself with a vendor and we'll have a conversation and we'll be like, I actually think I've got the perfect buy for you. They missed out on this property 2 weeks ago. Can I get them through? And the transaction is as easy as that. And it's so seamless and it's so enjoyable for both parties because it's minimal disruption and, it's a really, really great way to do real estate as well when you know your buyers in the area and you find, the right property for them.
Exactly.
And I tell my buyers all the time, if you have the options, right? You can go find yourself a buyer's agent and pay a fee, or just connect and engage with your local agent who are really good at what they do in the area that you're looking for, because, like I said, they might have something that you cannot see online. So I think that speed to market, to be able to get your dream home, so you're sort of beating all the competition most of the time. So that's fantastic, guys. So you guys are really good at this. See, look at this thing doing this one role, right? So
you make us feel comfortable
now. Let's talk about negotiations, because as buyers, I help buyers and they come to me and ask for general guidance and tips. But what makes a good offer, right? When you see something on the table, as long as it's not something crazy that you're not, you start laughing about it. But what makes a good offer?
It's the buyers that have done their due diligence, finance approved, they're ready to go. Conditions at the moment, we'll probably say that most of the properties that we do sell might have that building inspection clause, which is fair and honest to get done, and they're doing their due diligence that way. But subject to finance can sometimes go against buyers that might be going. There's other offers on the table that we're considering, and they don't have that clause, and they can miss out. So if you've got your finance ready, you've done all your checks, even with having your contract reviewed, that puts you in a very good position.
And it all comes down to the confidence as well, doesn't it? So I think when a buyer has done the work to do their due diligence, naturally they're more confident in their ability to negotiate because they know the water levels. I think that's really important as well. But the due diligence, like contract reviews, subject to, if it's a subject to finance, it's really important to let your agent know that you've got all your pre-approvals. It's probably just more so that maybe the bank needs to do a valuation of the house and things like that in order to get it through. But otherwise, they're probably the most important things. I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, we get sort of buyers that want to add in every single condition before making an offer. Now, let's say you got a property going to auction, and how can a buyer be in a position to make a strong offer before auction for you guys to consider taking off the market?
It would need to be a strong offer. I think the thing to consider here is that for a vendor to accept an offer prior to auction, they're essentially going to take it off the market and risk losing the unconditionality of an auction, because to bid an auction you need to be unconditional. So there's an element of risk there. So it needs to be a strong offer. It needs to be something at the very least at the top of the range. Or above for it to be considered, and as unconditional as they can possibly have it.
Yeah.
Because it's
because it depends if that's early on in the campaign, if still have that sort of cooling off period, 3 days.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's 3 days before the auction, it is unconditional. It's under auction rules, or 3 days after. Obviously, that still applies. But a strong offer sort of. It is hard sometimes to get that offer through sort of week one, because we haven't done that many open for inspections and buyers haven't come through. So it would need to be a very strong offer with probably no conditions and well sort of above that sort of either range or top of the range.
Yeah. I think going back to your other point is, if they've done all their checks, due diligence, they know what they're buying, right? And I think the other point was the long-term value, right? In the areas that we see quite often, 1.5, 2 million plus, they are the family homes. They are that long-term project. So I say my bias, even if you feel like you're slightly overpaid today, but in the long run, historically, we see the Victorian market or the housing market in Australia overall, the last 10, 15, 20 years, they've grown pretty strongly against all odds.
And I think too, overplayed, maybe, there may be a perception that they've overpaid from a financial aspect, but what has that delivered them in terms of lifestyle, enjoyment, convenience, all of those sorts of things. If you were to put a financial value on those things, you haven't overpaid. You've just got this new lease on life, and you're actually enjoying a more fulfilling life.
It's a long-term investment, so you're looking at that sort of 7 to 10 year window as a minimum.
Yeah.
So as we know, the market's always proven to be grow significantly over that time.
Yeah.
I think too, before we commence a campaign, we always have the discussion with the vendor that quite often in the first 2 weeks of a campaign is when you will see your most qualified and experienced buyers in the market.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are going to come through, and it's not necessarily a surprise to them if they receive an offer that early in the campaign that it's going to be strong and potentially enticing enough to take it off the market. So we do a lot of kind of pre-work in sort of, predicting what, the different ways that it may go, because you don't want to stay closed off to opportunities. I mean, I hate to say it, but there's been, campaigns that we've run ourselves where we've received really, a really strong offer after that first Saturday, but the vendor is like, oh, let's just wait till another week, and then that next week that buyer's gone and bought another property, and we never got to that level again. They were hot, they were ready to go, they'd done all their due diligence, and sometimes you can miss buyers as well. So the advice to vendors is, sometimes your first offer can be your best offer as well. And I think that's where, if you've got, really good trust in your agent and you kind of preempt those things happening, then, it makes it a lot easier to work with the vendor and also the buyers to make, to get a deal done.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we sort of head into the busy spring period, it will be quite interesting this year with where the rates are and where the market is. As we head into spring, what are you guys predicting as we head into that sort of busy period in the northwest area?
Yeah, I think we always expect that there's going to be more properties on the market come springtime, but In saying that, I think last year our best month was in July, in winter.
Yeah.
It was a really strong month. Obviously, it's very dependent on interest rates and how, do they hold, do they increase, do they obviously get reduced in terms of that confidence moving into it. But as we said too, we always get that vendor asking all the time, when's the best time to sell? It's always when you're ready, but spring may not always be the best time given the available properties on the market and buyers having more choice. Yeah. But we expect to see, obviously that probably will be our busiest time in spring. It'd be interesting to see what the clearance rates are. Hopefully we're, moving forward and confidence is there, with the buyers and we're starting to see some really strong results.
Yeah. I think too with, spring, there's a lot of activity outside of real estate happening in spring, with spring racing carnival, you've got footy finals and, all of those sorts of things. You've got shorter weeks. There's a lot of disruption there through spring. Plus also with, some proposed legislative changes as well coming in, and I think it's 1st of October. Just around, disclosure of reserves and things like that. Potentially there's going to be some, maybe
some
a bit of changes and maybe a little bit of uncertainty. So, we're just sort of staying close to that, and we don't necessarily see it as a bad thing. We're just, sort of rolling with it and
just adapt to, you
adapt,
pivot.
Exactly.
And change, and that's what Jellis Craig and the team always do. So
So pretty much, if you're thinking about listing, list before the spring period, right? Get it onto the market.
I see a huge amount of benefit in it.
Yeah.
It's really interesting that there's this perception that spring is better. I think that's come out of because spring is more beautiful.
Yes.
Everything's
blossoming.
Everything's blossoming and everything looks pretty.
That's why the flowers are out.
So
houses look better.
Yeah.
They look better, but there's more volume in the market. Does it necessarily mean there's going to be more buyers? That's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Ideally, you want to be able to build competition.
Yeah.
You don't want buyers to have too much choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Spot on.
Yeah. So.
No, I agree. So if Evolve's listing, I'd probably do the quiet times. Less on the market. So that's awesome. Awesome. So now, as we're sort of finishing up, now tell me your thoughts and feelings for the rest of 2026. Right, we're getting lots of mixed messages out there. If you had one advice for, say, our buyers that are watching, what would that be for the rest of 2026?
I think we've touched on that a bit already, but I think just preparation is key. Making sure you know exactly what it is that you can borrow, what and how much you can spend. Obviously, ensure that you've got a good conveyancer. You've got I guess you understand the market that you're in, and I think it's really important for buyers to build relationships with agents in the area as well, and being transparent with agents so that they can help you. I mean, they want to help you. It's not a buyer. It's not agent versus buyer. It's a collaborative. Yeah. It's a collaborative relationship between the buyer, the agent, and the vendor. So, I think just preparation and just keep in touch with agents in your area and work with the ones that are willing to work with you. Yeah.
And I think Melbourne's probably seen as quite affordable at the moment in terms of the capital cities and where we're performing.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity.
So we are starting to see some investors from interstate as well, starting to look at Melbourne, seeing the opportunity here.
Yeah.
Just because there's a huge variance in terms of, I suppose, the median house price between the capital cities. So Melbourne, we're due to sort of bounce back. When that is, I think it's heavily dependent on those interest rates.
Yeah.
But I've been interested. There's a lot of advocates reaching out to us with their investors from interstate looking to purchase properties. So I think we're in a good sign. I just still think we could be maybe 6 to 12 months away before we start to see a good amount of growth again. Which will, obviously said, depending on that when those rates go down, maybe it's mid next year. But I think we're in a good spot moving forward.
No, it's a good opportunity, and no matter what, there's always births, deaths, marriages, family, growing. There's always a reason. There's always a need.
Yeah.
There's always going to be, no matter what the market is, there's always a need. And when you've got a vendor that's selling and buying in the same market and vice versa. My, I guess, advice is, don't hesitate. I feel like we're in this kind of a little bit of a state of hesitation now where people are hesitating, sort of waiting to see what happens. But I feel like there's really good opportunity there.
Great opportunities out there.
For people that are ready to grab it.
Yeah. No, 100%. I totally agree. And I say to my buyers, the first step you need to do is just to speak to someone. Right, get that guidance, get that advice.
Yeah.
You don't have to commit to anything. Likewise with you guys, they don't have to commit to selling yet. But if they can get feedback and advice from someone that's really good in the area, know what they're doing, understands the market, it sets them in the right path and direction as well.
No, but we're also happy. Like, one thing that we always say to our vendors, buyers, even vendors that we miss out on opportunities with is, like, we're always happy to just discuss the market anytime. So you don't have to be buying or selling necessarily, but if you want to discuss what's going on in the market, just, call your preferred agent and have a discussion about it. Is like, I say that all the time. Like, if you just want, even, someone that might be already signed up to sell with someone else, like, or they might be out of our area, they're selling in another area, I will say to them, if you need a sounding board, if you want a sounding board, if you feel like something's a bit off, or if you want just another piece of advice, just like call us, and I'm happy to kind of bounce things.
That's what I think that the second opinion. I think the second, third opinion maybe, but second opinion, I think it is so crucial. And in a world where, again, we have so much information out there, so much access to resources, but to have a human to be able to guide you through buying or the finance side of things, I think it's so important. And I think that's one thing that tech and AI can't really take over. I think the human element is still going to play such a crucial part of that transaction that we work with. So
absolutely. And what is a very, very vulnerable time for people, selling and buying their home.
Everyone's trying to pick the right market.
And
vendors want to sell and get the best price, but buyers are hesitant when the market can go down more. Obviously, the media comes out with all these different articles every week, and
it's confusing. Having a trusted advisor and someone that you can go to and bounce things off, I think is really, really important. And it's no one should ever underestimate the emotional toll buying and selling can have on a human, because it is a really, really emotional experience. We know that ourselves just through selling our own home.
It's the biggest asset they'll ever sell in their lifetime. So
and it comes with feelings and memories and all those sorts of things. It's really important, and we don't underestimate that. In fact, that's the part that we love the most. And I think there's been, I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's been very few auctions where, we've been able to get a really great result where I will physically get a bit very emotional about it, because it's beautiful to be part of that experience. Like it actually means a lot. And things stick with you forever. Like we don't forget it, do we? Like we talk about past clients all the time. In fact, there's a lot of past clients that we've dealt with that we're still friends with. And we still check in and how's it going? And we go and have a look at their house once they've set it all up. And, it can be a really, really beautiful experience.
It's a big milestone. And, I think, not getting too philosophical, like you don't get many milestones in your life. And I think property, and besides getting married and kids and all that, but I think property, it's a big milestone that people go through and experience. And to be part of that, I think I'll tell my clients all the time, thank you for allowing me to be part of it. But no, thank you so much, guys, for coming on and having a chat to me and on the podcast. Now, tell me, if clients are looking to message you guys just for advice and guidance, how do they get in contact with you guys?
So we're at Jellis Craig, obviously Moonee Valley, Kensington. That's our office.
Just Google us. Adam Hicks, Emma Hicks,
Wonderful.
Team Hicks.
Team Hicks, mate, the powerhouse. So,
and just call, send us a text. Like, happy to talk to anyone, and happy to help any way we can.
No, perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks, Anne.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. And that's it. That's a wrap.